Welcome back, everybody, to another Wednesday night live show with League of Inches and Isaac as well. We almost just feel like he's part of the team now. It's been that long now, so I almost just feel like he's one of us. It's just the intro is not needed anymore, but it still is.
Yeah.
Very special guest still. Shout out, obviously, to Caxton Street Brewing Co. as our major sponsor. Me and Trav will actually be there this weekend, Sunday, for the Dolphins versus Titans game. We'll then be heading off to that game. We'll be there with a special friend of the show. He was there for our State of Origin live show as well. That's Retro from Retro Rugby League. So very keen to see him and see everyone out there. So any of you Dolphins and Titans fans that are going to the game, I know some of you Titans fans might be a bit in the dumps at the moment, but hey, come along, have a drink. It's a delicious drop there, and come have a bite to eat with us and chat some footy for a while. We'll be there from about 2:00 and booked out a bit of an area there, so just come and say hi. Very casual, just chat some footy and go from there. But tonight is, I reckon, it's potentially going to be our biggest show yet, and that's not trying to talk things up. There is that much to talk about clearly from a rugby league perspective. This week has just been crazy. It's a bit of a sad thing, to be fair, as well, because obviously finals is around the corner. We witnessed two absolute cracking games on the weekend, and they've almost been forgotten about. And just because obviously the way naturally how everything works, the scandals hit, the sackings hit, all that sort of thing, but it generates so much talking points. And you guys are the ones that are very keen on it, going off the interactions on the post that we've put out there. So as always, get in the comments, let us know. There's a few of you just starting to jump on. And one last thing before we get cracking. Massive happy birthday to Trav. It's his birthday today. He did come on. He could have easily just gone, it's my birthday, I'll play the birthday card, which would have been fair enough. He wanted to come on, chat some footy, because he knows there is plenty to talk about tonight. But Trav, before we get stuck into it, how is your birthday? What did you get?
What did I get? I got a golf chipping set, and I got a projector from a portable camping projector and 84-inch screen from, I don't know if you've heard of the company Kick Ass. They do a camping and caravanning outdoor stuff. So, anyways, yeah, got pretty sport. Oh, and a couple of really nice drawings from my little girls, and a pair of golf socks, man, a golf sock. And as you said, I could have easily got off, but someone has to be smart for it and hold the line for Isaac. If we've got quality, got a quality guess. He needs someone smart and intelligent in the group.
We do. I'm too worked up tonight. We all know how that normally goes. So this could be anything tonight. We'll see. It is a little bit different. Normally Isaac comes on and chats some rumors and things like that and tells us a bit more inside information, which is always appreciated. But because there's so many huge topics in the game at the moment, he's going to come on and just chat with us about our first one, which is obviously the Brandon Smith scandal. So before that, just quickly, Jake, welcome along, mate, as well. How's your weekend or your week been?
Yeah, good week so far. I've got year 12s doing their exams at the moment. So like they just come in, they do their exams and go. So I'm like a little lighter on the load at the moment. It's great. I get a few extra bit of time to myself to do some stuff. So I'm cruising.
Perfect. All right, let's get into it. We are live across Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So make sure all your comments are coming in. We'll feature them on the show. As always, the more you guys get involved, the better the show is. The Brandon Smith saga, guys. Let's crack into it. And Isaac, I will throw to you first, being the guest, still very much the guest. Talk to us. There's sort of, I've sectioned things off, but I'm happy to run wherever you want to take us to lead here. And it's obviously, first of all, I will say this is all obviously our opinions on the matter. This is obviously before the courts, and there's lots of fine lines that we have to step on. If there is any comments that are below the belt, unfortunately, I just can't naturally present them onto the show. I think everyone knows why. We'll obviously read them. We'll take them in, but just respect, obviously, what we can and can't sort of go out directly and say. Everything that we say tonight will be our opinions on all the matters. So, and everyone is obviously innocent until proven guilty in court. Isaac, hello, brother. Talk to us.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a very important point. It's all alleged, and you're innocent till proven guilty. But in saying that, far out, what a start to our week with this whole Brandon Smith thing. So for those of you who don't know, Brandon Smith has been caught in a little bit of a controversy on 2 counts. So one count of supplying dangerous drugs, and another count of giving inside betting information as well. So both tricky kind of allegations at the moment. I think the one that's probably the biggest deal at the moment is probably the drug thing. So we can tackle each one. We can start with the drug thing. So it's been reported that Brandon Smith has been caught supplying dangerous drugs. And it's been unraveling over the last couple of days. It's now come through that he was supplying drugs to his former Roosters teammates, one of which being Victor Radley. So he was named. And I think that at the moment, Victor Radley is not being caught in any kind of controversy at the moment. He's not being done for any wrongdoing or anything like that, but he has been identified as someone who has been supplied with the drugs from Brandon Smith. So that's what Brandon Smith has been kind of done in on the drug side of things. And then looking at the betting side of things, it has been reported that he has been feeding inside information to external parties on the matches that he's taking part in. Now, there have been a few whispers and rumors going around, and I've spoken to a couple of people who are close to the situation, and some players in the NRL as well who have heard a few things. Obviously, keeping everything anonymous as it is currently a case that's being worked on. So, but it sounds like he has been supplying inside information in advance to those who have been betting on the games, which obviously is a huge no-no and could result in him being sacked by the NRL completely. As things stand, both the Rabbitohs and the NRL are not going to be standing him down, and will be letting the police handle the whole situation. And until he is kind of proven guilty, the NRL will not be stepping in and taking him out of the game at the moment.
There's a few ways to tackle this at the moment. I love what you've done there, Isaac. We'll put both things into certain categories. We'll address obviously the drug side of things. There's a few ways to unravel that part of it all as well. Then we'll go into obviously the betting side of things as well. Jake, what are your thoughts so far on what's been said, what we know, and where we're diving into when it comes to the drug part of things allegedly?
Well, are we really surprised? I mean, come on. He was like, it happened when he was at the Storm where he got someone, there was that whole footage that came out with him like doing coke there, or allegedly, sorry, my bad, allegedly doing coke there. And then I feel like kind of ever since, it's almost just, you assume that he's just doing it. Like, and then, yeah, he's supplied it to Roosters teammates, which again, are we surprised? I personally am not. Like, this isn't something that I'm like, that's shocked me. Like, I feel like it's not shocked me at all. It just feels like it felt like it was coming almost, I guess. The Roosters really wanted to move him on, and I don't know whether that has any part of this, whether it's just a performance or the thing, or if it was like because he was having those injuries and stuff. But they wanted him gone, and we know how Nick Politis is around that type of thing. So all I'm saying is it isn't a bombshell to me. To me, it just feels like this was coming, and it was going to happen sooner or later for him.
Yeah, just quickly, Adam, talking para. It's his birthday today, so please, be nice, be nice. So
it'll be nice.
It'll be okay. It'll be fine. So look, Trav, before I go, I'll let you go. Your birthday, you go. Talk to us so far, the drug side of things. Jake makes some great points. Obviously, he has a history of it. But this is obviously a brand new case. We don't know yet what he's going to be committed of, if anything. But what are your thoughts?
I'm going to hold reserve of the belief that we wait until innocent until proven guilty. So I just want to wait. I've got opinions. I can have opinions But yeah, at this point in time, I'm not going to get too much into it, to be fair. I'm sorry, but yeah, I just want to wait. This is a big case, and this is going to make this. This is more than big. Like, this is literally career defining, and it's going to be career defining potentially for a lot of people. So until then, I sort of want to reserve too much of my judgment.
I want to just go about this in terms of a more broader side of things, and obviously, I think it's fair to say at the moment, I don't think I'm out of line saying this, but recreational party drugs in the NRL at the moment are probably the worst it's ever been. I think we all know either players personally or we know of stories, and they're way too frequent at the moment about it all happening. I want to take it from a personal point of view and say whatever you want sort of in the comments, but and sorry to bring it back to me, but it's the only thing I know sort of what to do and how to make it resonate to everyone out there. But when I was, I think, early 20s now, I think it was, I was doing athletics, and I was doing it at a pretty high level. I got to do it at an Australian meet, Australia tour, things like that. I got to travel for it, racing in a lot of the A races, things like that. So I was taking very seriously the sprinting side of things. But I would go out on weekends and stuff when I could. I'd drive. I'd be responsible. I was multiple times handed things and told, "Here, you have this. It's fun. It's going to make you not so much better. It's all good." I knew where I wanted to go with that career of mine, or what I wanted at the time, and I knew that even though I wasn't professional, I wasn't making money off it, to get to where I wanted to get to, that sort of lifestyle and that sort of the drug use and drinking and things like that were just a no-go. It simply was just a no-go, and I knew better. Like, I'm a guy who's 20 at that time, in that sort of party age that everyone talks about. Yeah, everyone's drinking around you, the music's blaring, girls and that are all there, like all that sort of stuff's happening. And if I'm someone who is a nobody, has the willpower and the strength to say no to that, I feel like a lot of these players are sort of, it's a cop out at the moment. You're professional athletes at the end of the day, and whether this has happened or not, we know of cases in the past that this has happened for multiple times this year alone. Enough's enough, in my opinion. Like, you go to the RLPA and things like that, you keep saying to the NRL that we want this and that, and we deserve this, and we deserve a bigger chunk of the pie, things like that. To be honest with you, you don't deserve any of it at the moment. Like, until you can start acting like proper professional athletes and keep yourselves clean and keep it professional, you don't deserve any of it. Like, this is the thing that really starts to piss me off with all this, is the fact that, and there'll be people in the comments saying, "Oh, they're young guys, they're living in life." Okay, they didn't have to choose this career. They can go out and be a tradesman if they wanted to. That's up to them. They haven't. They've chosen to take this career because it's actually giving them a lot more money than they would being a tradesman and things like that. So guess what? There's a way to go about that, and there is a way to actually hold yourself. And I'm just over this. It feels like there's so many piss weak excuses at the moment, and I just think calling a spade is in need for this time. I keep listening to podcasts over the last few days. Everyone's treaded pretty carefully around everything at the moment, but I'm just a bit over it. Like, everyone keeps saying that Brandon Smith's a great bloke, things like that. Okay, cool. I'm sure he's a larrikin. I'm sure he's funny. I'm sure he's a really cool guy. But if he's doing the wrong thing, he's doing the wrong thing. Like, that doesn't cover up the fact you're a larrikin and everyone thinks you're a cool bloke because they get a laugh out of you. Like, yeah, I just think Sorry, Jake.
He's also a role. He's also I'll just add to your point. He's also a role model for children. To be fair, like, he's a role model for children growing up in the NRL. And I'm not saying he did or didn't do it, whatever, until we find out that he's guilty. Like I said, it's still alleged. But, like, to your point, he is a role model. If that finds out that he's guilty, then all the kids that looked up to him, like, I love Brandon Smith, he's one of my favorite players, they're shattered and they think, or they think it's okay. Like,
I think that having a look at, and obviously like, especially when I try to come up on here, like, try to give as much kind of information and context as possible. And I think in this situation, we've seen a lot of players who have gotten done for doing drugs and the like and stuff like that. I think the bigger issue here is not solely the fact of him doing drugs, because unfortunately a lot of players do it, and that doesn't make it okay. But the biggest issue here is the drug supply. Now, as a professional athlete, not only a professional athlete, but a professional in any field of work, you have crossed the line from having a fun weekend to essentially contributing to a bigger crime and a bigger issue in Australia. So the allegations in this are a lot deeper than just a player doing drugs. Now, Victor Radley, for example, has been named as someone who came into possession of drugs through Brandon Smith. He's not getting done for anything. As of right now, he's not being prosecuted for any wrongdoing due to the fact that there's a bigger issue at hand, and the bigger issue at hand is the drug supply. Now, whether that comes to fruition, whether he does get prosecuted for that, is yet to be seen. That could be the end of his NRL career, because we've seen, and I'm not going to name names because naming and shaming, especially even if it's come to public, it's these players have or these people who have gone through these allegations have kind of copped it already. But I know that there's young players and aspiring rugby league players who have had their NRL career essentially ended before it started because they got into selling drugs and becoming part of the issue. Now, as a 29-year-old man, which Brandon Smith is, you are essentially contributing to this issue that the young players are having their NRL careers ended. And I encourage anyone who's listening, anyone who's watching, to go and research past instances where this has happened with junior players. They've had their contracts torn up and they're not allowed to come back into the NRL. If he's found guilty, it should be the exact same result for Brandon Smith. And then when you're looking at the betting offences, probably not as maybe as dangerous as the drug supply, but it's just shameful in rugby league, and it's something that the NRL, who has so many connections in the betting and gambling industry, to be feeding information to people it's shameful, and it sours what the game is and what the product is. And as all of you would know, there's a lot kind of going on with betting controversies at the moment. But neither of these crimes go hand in hand, but these are both very serious issues, and goes much further than a player just kind of doing drugs on the weekend or something like that.
You're 100% spot on, and that side of the matter, I think it's safe for us to not go any deeper into that until it has been into the courts. Absolutely. And has gone through, because like you said, supplying it is a whole different argument. I noticed that certain players have deleted things from social media, Roosters players, about the questioned weekend, which I'm not sure how that works from a police investigation point of view, but I'm questioning if you're allowed to really do that, or if that gets them into a little bit of trouble, maybe, because that's technically evidence. Like, I know this modern day that we live in could perhaps be some kind of evidence there, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. It's funny what you say, and like, we'll go a bit more into the betting side in a second, but just another thing I wanted to say, like, the NRL needs to start realizing what they are and what they want to be. And I feel like there's some people involved with the game still that feels like it's run like a chook raffle, and it's got that mind frame and that thinking still, and the fact that, we've got to give these blokes chances and things like that. Like, sorry to go back there, but I'll bring up the Ezra Mam stuff once again and just say, like, that should have been for mine a line in the sand where the NRL went, we actually stand for something here. We need to get this out of the game, and there's no second chance here. That was a serious enough incident where you're gone. You had your chance. You stuffed up. Any man and his dog knows not to do what he did. And I just feel like a moment they had a chance to prove that they were something, and an organisation not to mess with, they really gave the players more power and made managers feel like they can almost do what they like, and they'll always get these chances, which I just don't think's right, because it just doesn't sit well. The betting side of it, that's something in itself that is becoming a really widespread issue, I feel like, in this game. And we'll talk about it a little bit in more detail a bit sooner in this show with the Penrith restings. But when you're getting sponsorships and that coming through by almost everyone now involved with the game, whether it's podcasts, clubs, players, wherever it is, you can't go 5 minutes being involved with something to do with the game without getting a betting sponsor shoved in your face. There's chats, there's everything happening, everything. This is a serious one. Like, this is something that I know so far what's been leaked about what's potentially happened in this situation doesn't sound too extreme, but I don't know what else you can say on the betting side of it, but this is the one that I'm going, well, this one could really escalate things.
Yeah. So on the betting side of things, so essentially what has been said is that Brandon Smith, prior to coming into his first game, I believe, with the South Sydney Rabbitohs, he let some external parties know before he had been named to essentially allegedly bet on him as a try scorer, I believe it was, and let them know that he would be playing in that game before he was named on the extended bench. And so again, this is very finicky because it's all alleged and details could be slurred. But what we know right now is that he let external parties know that he would be playing while he was named on the extended bench. And I'm sure you guys would know, and you guys are going to tap into it a little bit further when you get to the Penrith stuff, but the odds would not have been they would have been pretty high on him to score. It should be noted that he didn't score that game anyways. But the odds he tried. But the odds were not very high. The odds weren't low on him to score, so it was, I guess, value. But no one knew that he would be playing in that game, and I think a lot of you remember. A lot of us were surprised when he initially came in because we were expecting a bit more of a delay. So yeah, look, that one's it's all he said, she said. It's a bit harder to tap into what that one is. But speaking to people around the NRL, they have kind of there's a little bit more information on the drug side of things than the betting side of things.
Yeah, Trav, you are a little bit more reserved on the drug side of it. What about the betting side of it? Which, look, seeing how it unfolds, it could potentially be the more serious allegation towards Brandon. But what are your thoughts?
Oh, well, it'll end up being the more serious allegation because the precedent's been set with one Ezra Mam at the start of the season, and unfortunately, and then last year with Josh Addo-Carr, and last year with Latrell Mitchell, and last year with every other frigging one that we had to deal with and we spoke about, and the precedent's set. So, yeah, and I get it. People are going to talk around it. They're going to argue that, this might be bigger and blah, 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 but the precedent set. And at what point will the NRL wake up to themselves and actually punish these people? And then how does it become his fault? He becomes the scapegoat. And I just hate that. I just really hate that conversation. But in terms of the betting, look, I'm not a bettor. So I pay attention to the odds. I like watching the odds. I like looking at, I do scroll through sports bet and do all those types of things. But I do it more so just for my own sort of content or just for my own knowledge to try and help myself with my tips or help myself with Supercoach or help myself just with chats and things like that. I don't bet. So I don't hold it against people for doing it. I have no issues with it, but I get it, right? And I get how big the sports industry is with betting. To me, the betting scandal and that is just pure blown cheating, and I'm really, really against that. I've got a much bigger stance on that than the drugs in sports kind of thing, and that conversation. I just think, unfortunately, I'm realistic, and this is going to sound poor, but and there's been comments as well from Talking Power and people beside and that unfortunately drugs is in our community, and that's it is the way it is. Like it's what we have, and we've got these really young people on lots of dollars trying to figure out how they spend those dollars, and unfortunately this is what happens. It happens everywhere. It's not just here. It's not our sport. It's literally every sport across the world, so I don't hold it that much. But in terms of the betting side of things, like, yeah, I purely think that they're just cheaters, and they should be. If it is classed as this is what he's done and this is how it's out, to me that's cheating, and yeah, that's fixing. And that to me has a much bigger impact because it's not just what he does. It results in the team. It results in the other team. It results in the ladder. It results in the integrity of the whole competition. It results in the integrity of each and every game. Yeah, I'm really against that, to be fair.
Yeah. Jay, do you have anything to add on that one?
Yeah, just only a little bit. And it's only because the betting one is so circumstantial. So what, like you said, so what's basically happened is he's obviously told someone that he's, going to be starting right now. It's so hard to prove whether that guy was going to make a bet or whatever this thing was. So I saw a lot of people saying parents would like a kid. Let's say someone was playing and they were coming off said they're on the extended bench, but they were going to start. So are they not allowed to tell their parents and family and things like that potentially? And I'm not sticking up for him. I'm sort of playing a bit of devil's advocate here, I guess, is that, he might have just been talking to this guy, whoever it is, and it might have been just a mate and just been like, oh, no, I'm going to be starting this week. And that guy's, gone and made a bet. But, that's not to say that necessarily Brandon said, go and make a bet. But then is it still the same level of misdeed, I suppose?
Yeah, with that, it's been alleged that he told an accused drug dealer that he would be starting for the Rabbitohs.
That's fair enough.
I think that's why, and I think that's why it's both charges have been kind of linked in the same, because it's all kind of linked through. But apparently that he had let the accused drug dealer know of that.
Yeah, I think I heard on the Kenty podcast today, he mentioned something around, and this, I might get the wording wrong, incorrect. Apologies if I do. But he mentioned something around the fact that the guy mentioned to Brandon that he had him as an anytime try scorer. And Brandon said, you may want to switch that because I'll be starting or something like that. So that's sort of thing. The funny thing is, Jake, and I've got one more question. Isaac's got to go. I've got one more question for him just quickly on that. It's a hard one because you have to, you'll see players make their debut, for instance, and they've got to organize their family and that to get there and get seats for them. So then there's got to be just this mutual understanding that, tell your close family and things like that, but you can't be going over the top, and they'll be checking betting agencies, things like that for family names, stuff like that, I'm guessing. One more for you, Isaac, and then we'll let you go. Really sorry, it's been a massive segment, I know. It was always going to be like this. I'm actually interested to know if you've heard anything today in and around the media traps about the reactions by both the Sydney Roosters and the South Sydney Rabbitohs, because from my perspective, it feels like South Sydney have been ultra relaxed about all of this, which is a bit surprising in my opinion, especially because Brandon's basically a new player at that club. In my eyes, he's potentially brought over a really bad culture that could mix in with their playing group, where we've heard from the moment that Brandon arrived at the Roosters, there was so much linked with him from almost the first month of him getting there that you heard the Roosters the last 2 or so years continue to talk about bad culture at the club and certain players that they wish they didn't sign and things like that. And it makes you start to think where it's gotten to. And I know Nick Politis has come out, I think it was yesterday, and mentioned to someone that he's totally against this drug use at his club, and he'll be coming down very, very hard on any player that's found guilty of that. So are you shocked that essentially South have so far said, he'll be playing next week, it's all good, we're all good as well?
I think with South, Wayne Bennett often operates he doesn't really operate publicly in a lot of situations. So from what I've heard, the Rabbitohs are adamant that they're kind of they will be allowing the courts to do their thing before they hand down any punishment. And that's essentially all that they've got from Rabbitohs. And the Roosters are of a complete different mindset. They've got a no drug policy, and even though Victor Radley hasn't been legally done for any wrongdoing, they will be investigating that with him. And I'd expect the Victor Radley side of things to become a bigger story if it's found that he was doing drugs. But as of right now, the South Sydney Rabbitohs are kind of operating behind closed doors and allowing the courts to do their thing before they kind of make any rash kind of public statements.
I much appreciated once again, Isaac, all your info. Keep us up to date. Let us know anything else that may get leaked or come out, be much appreciated. But off you go save the world again. Compared to what you look at midnight, basically, this is small talk. So go and stop. I don't know, World War VII happening, please.
Probably won't be stopping it, but I will be across it. So if you need to know anything on what's going on, just let me know. Thank you guys as always, and happy birthday. Happy birthday to Trav, and hopefully next week we've got a bit more details on this situation.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's steer away. We've got plenty to cover still. Do you boys anything before we move on? Anything else to add on that so far? Like, there's not much we can more say until everything is actually either committed or not. Things like that. So.
No, I don't want to. I as Jess just came on, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole just yet, and I just want to see. I just want to wait. I've got to. I just want to get my facts straight. I want to have my opinion based off facts, and right now I can have an opinion, and it may come out that it's all garbage. Like, I don't know, so I'm just going to wait and see.
So Dave, the old man just asked you a little bit of a query. The media have mentioned the Roosters and South clubs, but shouldn't the Storm be in the mixes? Smith played down there as well. Second to that, Trav, as a Storm supporter, do you agree with my comment? I'm not sure what you mean. Like, he hasn't been there for a while now. To be honest, that was probably the time where maybe I don't know, not going to say they slipped anything or anything like that, but he seemed to behave quite well at Melbourne, or at least be on the straight and narrow-ish. I think it's fair to say. Obviously, we've seen what happened the end of season with Munster, where that's very well publicised. But your thoughts, Trav?
No, it'll come out if it comes out, but that was years ago. So like I've got no, just because he was affiliated with it doesn't mean that every affiliation needs to have a question answered to him.
Yeah, it happened this year. So I think the two clubs in question are the ones. Let's go to the Penrith Panthers. They have literally rested their entire squad, it seems. Or not, it seems that they have, apart from Matt Eisenhuth, and I think Snyder's playing at halfback, who normally occasionally will come off the bench and things like that. So two potential players there. What are we thinking about this? I want to just say I totally understand that their bigger picture is winning the premiership. I get that. I totally do. They can do what they sort of like in a way. It just sort of isn't sitting well with me. The more I've thought about this, the more I just feel like it's not right. I don't know. What are you thinking, Jake, about this one? Do you think it's okay that Penrith go ahead and do this? Do you think the NRL should be putting something into place? I know Trav's big on his American sport, and from things I've listened to over the last couple of days, apparently the NFL are pretty big on this in their selections and things like that. They've got to actually, if you name like players and that, they've got to be playing, things like that. So it's very much you be straight up and honest with things. And I think they've got rules in place about restings and stuff. I think that's what I've heard. So, Jay, what are you thinking?
Despite how much it has hurt my Supercoach chances of winning this week, my grand final in my my comp I've got going on, I think it is an absolute masterstroke of a move. Personally, I love it. I think that Ivan Cleary has chosen the right time to do it. I think if you do it on the last round, you risk that, especially because you're not going to get 2 cracks at it. If you do it in the last round, you risk that sort of coming back a little bit cold, I guess. Whereas he's taken this first week off to then come into next week. He gets one game where it sort of doesn't really matter too much if they lose. Like the odds of them getting out of the 8 is extremely, extremely, extremely low, despite even if they lost to both times. So they're getting like that big rest in. They're getting then their players to sort of warm, like a final warm-up game against the Dragons to lean into the finals, because to be honest with you, they have to win. Once they're in that final series, you have to win 4 in a row. You have to win 4 games back to back, especially coming from that position, like coming from 7th place or wherever they end up, like 7th. It should be 7th. You have to win those 4 in a row, otherwise you don't win the premiership, and that's what they want. Now, the players that they have picked are all top 30. Am I wrong? Or how else would they be? They're all.
No, that rule's not in play technically. So,
well then you know what? Either way, if they have not broken a current NRL rule, I have absolutely no issue with it. I think it's completely and totally fine. Now, there's a big chat. There's been chat over the years and stuff about like how NRL as a competition don't use their top 30 well enough in terms of resting sort of players week to week in order to keep them fresh. In order to keep them fresh across into the finals and things like that. And I can kind of get why teams don't do that. You want to play your best, you want to field your best team every week and things like that. But to be honest with you, if like every other team does it the same way, and you know what, I reckon almost anyone else in their position would do the same thing, and I completely think it's fine.
I'm shocked it's not next week. I'm a bit confused why it's this week. They've decided to rest. And Trav, what are you thinking?
So this is very different to the American version of what you're trying to refer to. So, you know, and there are restrictions with restings in the States in terms of your marquee players on marquee games and things like that. So you can't rest players on a primetime game slot. It's just, it can't happen. They won't let you do it. There are big fines that happen. And there's a lot more to it, but that's a very, very simple way to explain that. NFL have a little bit different in terms of restings, and they don't say resting. They'll actually call an injury and then no one asks the question. So it could be a rest, but yeah, most of the time the NFL, they don't rest unless it's the last game of the round of the year. And then they lead themselves into finals.
Every Panthers player has a calf strain. Didn't you hear? They're not getting rested. They all have a calf strain for a week.
So yeah. So now my thoughts. I don't like it. I don't like that there's so many. I don't like that this is a Thursday night. This is a primetime game. Right? The NRL, this is they love the Thursday. They love the night games. They love the Thursday night. It's a single game. The Bulldogs are a top 4 team, fighting for a top 4. They're in third place. They won't make the top 2. It can't happen. Mathematically, it can, but there's the Storm have to lose by a couple of hundred points over the next 2 weeks for it to happen, and blah 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 blah. But they haven't locked the third spot away. So moves like this and in situations, this is literally just Penrith just going, yep, we don't care. Let's just be. We're going to rest everyone. We don't care about the result. It's all good. But this has more than an effect on just themselves. This has an effect on the Bulldogs. This has an effect on 4th place, 5th place, 6th place. It has an effect on everyone. And the Panthers don't give a shit about that, but the league should, and the competition should. And this is a farce in terms of everything around that. This is not just Penrith giving up and saying, we've got 7th spot, it's all good. This is actually the whole final 8, the whole top 8 playing out because of this one result. And that's what I don't like about it. If this was a game where literally it didn't matter whether Bulldogs won or lost and the Panthers won or lost, I wouldn't have an issue. But there's actually a lot of ramifications from this happening. Now, look, if Penrith pull out a miracle and win the game, then there's a whole different story. And we're not going to sit here and I laugh at people who write comments and go, if Penrith win, we'll hear crickets. No, we won't. We won't hear crickets. We'll be laughing about what the hell the Bulldogs are doing, and we'll be talking about how bad the Bulldogs are one more week into about to be in the finals. That's what we'll be talking about. So I don't like this situation. Now, I'll give an example. Melbourne have locked top 2 spot. There's a potential for them to finish first, okay, and get the minor premiership. The likelihood of that is very minimal. Did we just go and rest 3/4 of our team? No. We've only rested 5.
And until next week when you rest the rest of them. And
then till next week when the other half go out. We haven't rested 16 guys. We're resting 5 at the moment, and then we'll rest 5 or 6 next week. So there are ways to do this without making a joke of the system. It's a joke of the system when you're doing that many.
Yeah, but what you're saying they're 2 completely different situations, because the Storm's one, if they can win, that still can affect them. They can still get that top spot, like you just said, mathematically. The Panthers, they have gone, we don't care about the top 4. And obviously, like you said, they don't care about where the Bulldogs end up. Why would they care at all? So I get what you're saying in terms of it's farcical in an NRL sense. That's an NRL problem that they need to fix, and if they have an issue with it. But to be completely honest with you, I don't see why they should. I mean, everyone's wins and losses to this point have gotten them to where they are. So just this one game, yes, it does make a big difference, but that's just where they're at. On the point
No. I'm not going to let you get away with that. I'm not going to let you say that this is only one game and that's the end of it. That's where it's at. Like there's 27 rounds of this, and every single game up to right now is really important. And there is 1 or 2 games separating 10th spot to 8th spot to there's 1 game separating 4th spot to 6th spot. Like, so 1 game is very important. That's garbage. I'm not going to let that fly.
Well, fair enough. To be honest with you, I actually, that's fine. It doesn't really bother me too much. But again, Panthers don't care about that, and that's fine. Why would they? They don't give a shit. They want to stay exactly, they're happy to stay exactly where they are. So they're fine with that. That's what I mean. Like, obviously, it does matter to the other teams. I'm talking about for Penrith, they don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to them.
But this has to be more.
That was the way
this has to be a situation that's more than just Penrith, and the NRL and all that need to look at this and go, this can't happen again, because this doesn't just affect Penrith. This affects 6 other teams.
And so next week, if, let's say, for example, and I know this isn't happening, but let's say that third was versing, I've lost it completely. Let's say that there was one next week, but sorry.
If Penrith are doing this next week, I don't think anyone would say anything. I think it's a weird time
I agree.
to do it. I think
that's what I was trying to get to.
Like, I'm actually starting to think they're going to actually maybe rest him for 2 weeks in a row. I actually feel like they're just completely gone. You know what? Everyone just completely rest up. Let's just train. They'll have a hard week of training. Don't worry about next week's game, and then it's just going to the finals. Fine. What I don't like, and I think has been missed here, and I'm sort of erring on the side of what Travis is saying a little bit in terms of, I think it's just taking the absolute piss out of the NRL. And I think the NRL need to, once again, grow some balls here and start being start saying what they're about as an organization. Like, you can't be having, this is a marquee game of the round. We've just come off 2 of the best games of the year with 2 really high place teams. This is the same thing. Now, there was many fans that would have gone out and bought their tickets before this has happened. Now, what are they going to do? Do they really want to go out and watch this reserve grade side go out and play? No. And it's a Thursday night. It's already hard enough to sell tickets to fans to actually go to the game. The NRL need to start going to clubs and saying, this is not on. Like, this is literally, like Travis said, this is taking the piss. This is a competition where TV rights are so crucial to the revenue side of things. Again, the RLPA want to go on about making sure they get every cent that they deserve. Okay, so how come the coaches and the clubs are dictating this sort of thing, and when they see fit, they don't care about the TV ratings, they care about themselves? No worries, have that mind frame, but you're not going to be able to keep dipping your finger in all these pies and thinking you're entitled to get stuff. Like, I just think it's an absolute joke that the way it's happening. And I don't mind them doing 3 or 4 or 5 or something this week, and then again some like next week, like the Storm are doing. I think that's okay. There's still named enough quality players to make it a good, entertaining game for the Storm game. But I think this Penrith one is absolutely taking the piss. Like, I just don't think it's right at all.
I really like Jess's point, and the point is here, how are Penrith feeling? And then we've sat here with Nicholas Noel, who's saying it's a Penrith fan, and this is what he's about to watch. Clubs do this sort of stuff. Clubs rest all the time. Clubs don't rest the entire team in one hit. That's not what happens. So we've got to stop saying that this happens all the time. No, this does not happen all the time. The NBA don't rest their entire team. The NFL players, MLB, they don't rest their entire teams. They do it sporadically. They do it sparingly. They do it at different times and over points of the year. This is not something that people do. I think we've got to stop saying that. But as Nicholas is saying, he wants to see his players. He wants to see his stars. This is what I pay memberships for. This is what I go to games for. This is why I buy my tickets. This is what I want to see. And yet you're now going to go and see the end of the line. There are some Penrith people I've seen in comments, and I think they're just saying this just to as a bit of a cop out. Oh no, it's good because I get to see the bottom of the team and the talent, and you're only as strong as your bottom. And it's true, but that's a cop out. They're just saying that because this is the decision that's been made, and they're a Penrith fan. This just doesn't fly with me. This does not fly with me well.
If I'm honest with you, if this was the Eels in the same situation, I'd be stoked. I'd be so happy.
I don't know why.
I'm telling you now, I'd be so happy because I think it's a very smart strategy. Now we've talked about it from like the ethics point of view. We've talked about it from the ethics point of view. Can we look at it from a strategic point of view from the Panthers? That's it. Like
Oh,
ignoring the fact that they can't do it, right? So they get this week off. Right. They're resting their players. Then they come up against the Dragons next week. Now, it is not a must-win game. So let's say that they did manage to lose next week game with their full stack rested players, right? Yeah, it might be a hit on the morale, but they get another crack. They get the week later after that. But what would happen is if they rested next week and they came in against that last game and they just... I know that it's happened where a team will have a week where they'll rest the week before and they come into it feeling cold or not as like prepared as they probably should be, I guess. So for me, personally, that they have the opportunity to do this, I think it is a fantastic opportunity for them. They're going to come in, they'll like take this week off, they play against the Dragons next week, they'll have their crack, whether they win or lose, whatever. If they win, take confidence out of it. If they lose, well, we get another crack. We get to go again. I think it's fantastic strategy.
and I can respect that. I like I said, I do get the Panther side of things doing it this way from their point of view, wanting to win a competition. Totally get that. But I just think at times where we're talking about this is the NRL, like this, you're playing under the NRL's banner. This is technically your boss. I just think the NRL should at times play the boss card a bit more and say, no, this isn't happening. Like this is affecting our TV ratings, which then affects the revenue side of things. This continues to happen. Like people go on about how many rounds they want to watch happen and things like that. The TV rights deal will start to drop if they know that 2 or 3 rounds of the year we played by lesser quality of players. And that's already acknowledged the fact that through Origin, we already deal with this enough. So to add this into when we're supposed to be going to finals football, it just doesn't sit well. And the last thing on it, the other thing they need to make sure they look at is obviously the betting side of things, which we spoke about, and the fact that the odds completely changed so quickly by obviously a leak once again. And that's just, it's getting more and more prevalent in the game. And it looks like it's a real issue that the NRL needs to somehow sort out. Let's talk about, there's obviously been some big coaching news at the moment. The Titans, Gold Coast Titans confirmed on Monday, Des Hasler is gone. Gone. Shout out to the footy show. What are we thinking here? Obviously, the right call, do we think? The wrong call? I think it's definitely the right call, and I've said it in the past. I think this new job walking into for Josh Hannay, this is a hell of a job now. This is going to be probably the biggest job in the NRL. I think this club is a complete basket case. I absolutely love the appointment of Scott Sattler as well. He is a very, very smart man. Obviously, I got to interview him last year, or maybe it started this year, actually. It might have been this year's been a bit of a blur, but he is honestly such a smart guy. I actually reached out to him the other day and just congratulated him on it. He said thanks, things like that. So very, very good appointment. They need more of that. To be honest, I'd actually be looking at, if I was the Titans, Cam Smith, who lives up here, I'll be reaching out to him as well, trying to get him involved with the club and bring that professional aura to the club, that winning mentality, things like that. Those sorts of players around this club is probably exactly what they need. So I absolutely agree that the Des sacking, I think it needed to happen. He's and moving forward, there's already been some rumors out there, but I think his best option right now is to walk away completely from the game, and potentially that's it. That's curtains on his coaching career. Jake, what are your thoughts around the Des sacking?
Oh, I think the sacking of Des was the right call, to be honest with you. I think he should have stopped coaching after the final attempt at Manly. His recent seasons as a coach, he's lost it. You can kind of tell he just hasn't got what he had. I think the game's evolved past him. He hasn't been able to keep up with it for a little while now. And then in terms of the Josh Hannay call, I know he's been sitting there sort of waiting in the wings for a little while, but it is, like you said, it is a job, man. Like he has his work cut out for him, you know, and it's not as if Titans can afford to have another 2 seasons of like lacking success. They need to start winning games of football pretty freaking quickly. And I think the first thing he's going to have to do is something kind of similar to what Riles has done at Para. And what Serraldo did at the Bulldogs. I think he's going to have to do a bit of a cleaner. They have 72 fullbacks across the park, and like, what do you do with that? Like seems like half their team's made up of fullbacks. They need to they need to free up cap is what they need to do. They need to free up some cap by selling some players and moving some stuff around. And Josh Hannay is going to have to make some really, really difficult calls to do that. And then obviously, just besides the recruitment, he's an untested coach. coming in, but he doesn't have the resources that Riles has at the Eels. Like Riles has got a lot around the area, and he's got way more resources and sort of like equipment and things behind him. And yeah, so Josh Hannay, he's got a really, really difficult job ahead of him, and I wish him well. I actually hope that they do well, because if they don't start doing well in the next 3 or 4 seasons, Rabbitoh, it's what year is it now that I forget it? Rabbitoh's incoming of a 2002, I think it might have been. No, I don't know what it was. They got kicked. You know what I'm talking about.
Your story.
Bye-bye.
I'll just let you keep on. I'll let you keep digging.
I'll figure it out. Hold on.
What are your thoughts on the Des Hasler sacking?
It's a great call. It's a finally call. It's 24 weeks too late call. I think finally the Titans have showed some nuts to say, yep, all right, let's start doing a clear out and let's go. Okay, and we've got our hands on probably the best up and coming coach here anyone's really spoken about for years. To be fair, like Riles has done a really good job and was spoken about as being an up and coming coach, but before Riles was there, Hannay was being talked about as the next big thing, right? So the Titans have got themselves on a gun. So they've made a great decision. I think you're right. It's Scott Sadler, isn't it? Let me say that right. He's an absolute no-brainer call. If you could get your hands on him, that's what you were doing. And I love that they've done. So I love that they've started to make some decisions in management that I said a couple of weeks ago that they really needed to do. Now what they need to do is, I actually think, to be fair, Jake, I don't think they need to win games next year. What they need to do is do a clear out. I think what they need to do is, and the community needs to see, and the fans need to see, the team and the players need to see that this shit that they live by and the way that their rules that these players seem to think that they can go by is going to stop. And we are now a professional club that needs to change. And you either toe the line and start playing some footy for us, or you go find somewhere else, or go and play in England. It's time to it's time now, and none of these players can get away with it. I think Henner's out of Instagram made a really good point. Was it Henner's? Jamie Lewis out of Instagram, who mentioned that they need to find a half. I think they need to lock Tino away first of all, and because Tino's a culture setter. Tino's a guy that people will follow. And unfortunately, he's been there a while and the club hasn't followed him. But I think that's because the leadership around him hasn't been great, that they've been able to follow him. And so, but I think Tino's a culture setter. They need to sign him. But then I think they need to figure out a way to keep JC. And then they need to find somewhere to find a half and find a partner to that. And once you've got those three locked in, that's it. Now you build your club around that. And if that takes 3 to 4 years, then that's what it takes. But we all need to see strategic improvement and culture improvement. And until then, they're going to continue being a basket case. And we're going to talk probably next year at this time that Hannay's about to get sacked. Like, there's the potential for that with the way that this club's been run. So, there's some big calls that still need to be made. They've started.
Who's your fullback, Trav? Who's your fullback choice?
Oh,
you mentioned
a no-brainer.
Kenny, so Brimo out. Would you be happy for them to let him go?
I've been calling Brimo to go since I started talking on this podcast 18 months ago.
Yeah, fair enough. Just curious.
I like Brimo. I'm not going to don't mince my words.
No, I'm not. I understand what you're saying.
I just don't think he fits in this system.
3 doesn't go into 2.
I honestly believe when it comes, and Jess makes a really good point with what Tino's come out and said today. But I haven't actually caught on to this, but I'll have to check it out after this show has finished. But he's obviously said that other people need to be held accountable. And I absolutely agree with that, because the club management there has not been adequate or up to task, in my opinion. So, and it hasn't been for a while now. And they allowed Des Hasler to basically not do a single thing in the community, not help actively promote and sell the Titans brand out there to, and they're in desperate need of that. They're in a battle at the moment with the Broncos, with the Dolphins, and they're losing by some way. And they're now in the battle with the Gold Coast Suns, a totally different sport. And and they're losing that battle as well. It's really, really concerning where the Titans are at, and management need to be held accountable. I know the owners have now gotten a 100% stake. It's not split anymore, which hopefully is a good thing. Hopefully they're the side that wanted to be more community based, but the Titans need to the next 12 months, in my opinion, and you've both sort of hinted towards different sort of aspects, and I actually want to put them both together. They do need to win football games. They need to start bringing success to the Gold Coast, and encourage people to go to Seabus to actually watch games of football that they win, not just to go and watch a game of football because it's a nice stadium. And they also need to make sure they get it right with the community side of things. They need to be a community-based club, similar to what the Knights are. The Knights are like a one-team town. You look at Parramatta, for instance. I remember like last year that the place was so stale and dead because Brad Arthur was all about keeping things basically in-house. Don't worry too much about the fans. We don't want to spend too much time with autographs and things like that. Like the Titans have been exactly the same under Des. It's that old school mentality, and it can't be like that anymore. Like it really cannot be like that. And we all see it. They've got some tremendous talent in that team. Any team that has JC, Keeney, Tino, Fafita when he wants to pull his finger out, you've got Fermor. Like that's 6 players there that I can guarantee you majority of clubs out there would try and sign in a heartbeat. When you got those alone, and their junior system is coming through, absolutely coming through. They Josh Hannah has a huge job on his hands, and tell you what, it's not just a big 12 months, it's a big probably month. He's walking into some massive calls that need to be made. The Tino one, they need to get him extended or at least the mutual agreements taken out. And then you also need to get onto the fact that JC hasn't extended yet. And you need to work out what's going to happen with that 3-2 situation because then the last one is David Fafita. He's obviously got a relationship with him based back in his time with the Maroons. What happens there? Is he a fan of him? We know Billy Slater wasn't a fan of Dave Fafita. I wonder if Josh Hannay feels the same way because if he does, see you later. He'll be back. He'll be over at South Sydney very, very quickly. Going on. Sorry, Trav.
I know. I was just going to say something to Jamie Lewis over at Instagram, which I just posted the comment. But he was just saying he thinks that Sandon Smith would do a wonderful job. I actually think Sandon Smith would be a really good play next to JC for sure. I agree 100%. And you get him at a good price too.
You don't like that, Jake?
No, I don't. I think you're playing 2-5-8 then. We saw what happened when we played Sandon. When the Roosters played Sandon at 7 at the start of the season and it didn't work. When they switched him into that 5-8 role, it just worked a lot better. And I don't think that he suits being that commanding 7.
Go on, Trav. I'm letting you.
Oh, I couldn't hear you.
I didn't hear anything. I missed all of that. Sorry.
Oh, did it not come through?
I didn't hear anything. Sorry.
No, I heard it.
Oh, well, you go, Joel, then. Go on.
No, he's sort of saying that not quite the playmaker they potentially need. They do need a very controlling playmaker, in my opinion. They've got plenty of running playmakers. I don't know. I want Sandon Smith, so I'm a bit
same.
Yeah. Trav?
Yeah, I don't know what I keep missing heaps. I'm sorry. I think are you saying that Sandon Smith to the Titans was a good call, bad call? I don't know.
No, I said bad. I think he's not a controlling half. I said I think he's a running half, not a controlling half, and so is JC. And I don't think 2 running halves ever works.
Oh, see, I like what Sandon Smith did for the Roosters at the start of the season, and I liked what happened when he was the controller when was next.
I think
Savala was literally just a kicker and a tackler. Like Sandon Smith was the reason why, and I really like. Sorry, yeah, just let it go. Don't move on.
No, you're talking. Yeah.
Just Adam, quickly. I've seen you mention this a couple of times. I just want to say to you, it's not just a good season he's had. He actually killed it last year's final series as well. He was the clear man of the match in one of the biggest games of the season, Anzac round. He's a good player. So I know you've got your boys at the club. I know you're a massive fan of Josh and that's fair. That's fair enough. But I think Sandon deserves a bit more respect than what you're potentially giving him. I think he's a very, very good player. The Newcastle Knights, this will make Adam happy as well. He loves talking about the Newcastle Knights. They're in turmoil, which he would love. Shout out to him. It's and Dave sort of mentioned as well, AOB and the Knights also had to part ways. Knights are terrible. They certainly are. This was bound to happen. I think he wrote his own sort of tombstone in a way when he made those comments about the crowd and how things were looking there, and they basically had no idea, that sort of thing. So I just don't think it was ever going to work post those sort of comments. They've been pretty horrible for a few years now. I know a lot of people look at their finishing positions, but I don't believe all of that. I think we all know the elephant in the room, and I've been called out for saying this in the past by a certain player, but shout out to him. He won't be at the club for much longer, but it was off the back of Kalen Ponga. We all know that. So I think Kalen Ponga helped make Adam O'Brien look like a better coach than he actually is. I think he's struggled almost since the time he's got the job, and it just hasn't gone the right way. Look at their recruitment and retention. He's made plenty of blunders. Like Hastings for 800K is ridiculous. Whoever said that was okay and that was a good deal is just has absolutely no idea about rugby league, sorry to say, because he's not worth anywhere near that. And to have that happen, and then their forwards are a bit of a schmozzle, but again, they don't have that much money to spend because you got Ponga on 1.4, 1.5. You've got Hastings playing reserve grade at 800K. You've thrown a few of those other players that are in on big money. It's just not quite happening. Trav, what are your thoughts on the? What was that?
Brown.
Brown's coming back doesn't impact. Yeah, that doesn't impact what's happened so far in AOB's career.
True.
Trav, what are your thoughts on this sacking?
Oh, this was the call that should have been sacked 2 years ago. This is the chat that everyone's been talking about. We're all finally hearing about it. I had to laugh. Isn't it funny where a club always makes a statement, and you have to really the ears prick up when you hear this. He's safe for 2 years. We're just about to walk into a review, though. So, and so instantly the ears will just prick up and go, "Wow, hang on a second, you're about to get sacked." And so I need to get onto this a little bit more. And when I hear those things, go and find the betting agency that's got where that coach is about to get fined, get sacked, and go and put all my money on it, because almost 100%, whenever that call happens, they end up a week later getting fined.
Gamble responsibly.
Absolutely. And I don't gamble, so there you go. It's a no-brainer. You said it before, and I was listening to the Knighted last night. Shout out to the Knighted podcast. And I was listening to him and his talk about it. And one of the things I really picked up on, and we spoke about this too last week, Joel, and as I said, you just mentioned it before, Newcastle is one of a kind. This is a community that lives and breathes this club, right? This is a community that just absolutely dies for NRL and the Newcastle Knights. And you can even see it with the way that they've grasped onto their women's program and how important that is to them. This is literally what they live and breathe, right? And as soon as the NRL's finished, it's straight back to when's the NRL coming back? And you can just see it. You read the articles, you do it. I've got a few people that live in Newcastle. We've got a guy, Matty, who now works for us and does a bit of stuff on Sunday review show. And he's a Newcastle guy. He doesn't go for them, but he lives and breathes it, right? It's different. This is a community that is all in their club. And not so long ago, Adam O'Brien basically said they've got no idea. Now, you can't do that. You cannot do that. So and from that moment, you lost your community. Now, not only have you lost your community, the players do not play for him. If you sit there and listen to all the post-game reviews, and you watch Ponga's body language. Now, I'm not a person that is a fay with body language, but if you look at what Ponga and any player that sits next to Adam O'Brien, when Adam O'Brien speaks, their body language is atrocious. When you get the interchange camera that goes through and you're listening and watching them, where you can't actually listen, but you're watching them, watch the players. We go back and have a look, the players don't give two shits about him. Now, this is a coach that has given them pretty decent success. They've made finals when we all thought they weren't going to. Ponga got a Dally M off the back of a massive run home. There's been some success, but have a look at what they've put together this year. And granted, there's been a few injuries, but they've got the worst defense and the worst offense. And not only have they got the worst offense, they've got the worst offense by more than almost 100 points. That's a disgrace. Now, full credit though, I think he's made a couple of good calls. Fletcher Sharp's been unearthed. That dude's a superstar and in the making. And I like a couple of the calls that they've got on the wings. But when you're losing the likes of like Leo Thompson, you're losing the likes of so many juniors and locals that are going to other clubs and thriving that you did not think or rate at all, there's a problem. And that's the coach. And it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah, and Dixie, you're 100% spot on. He hasn't helped himself with this constant halves merry-go-round that's happened for about 3 years now. Jake, I'd throw to you just quickly. Dill Brown signed with them because he was guaranteed $13 million. I don't think he cares who is there.
Yeah, exactly.
He has $13 million to set himself up for life. Jake?
Obviously, it's the right call to sack him. I think you've covered pretty much everything with that. My big question, I suppose, is just who comes in.
Yeah, I think they've missed it now.
That's where I'm at. Yeah, I think they missed Josh Hannay and they wanted him, and they've gone, oh, we might be out of it. No, he's there. So I don't know.
Who do you think?
I think it's got it. I'm sorry, Jake. I really want to say this because I was talking to the Knighted last night about it. It can't be Blake Green. It cannot be. You cannot have your current offensive head assistant coach who's just coached the worst offense in a very freaking long time now step up and be the coach. It cannot be. I'm passionate about. I'm a Storm fan, but like I'm an NRL person. This cannot happen. It would be the same thing.
I fully agree with you, Trav. I think that the main thing is they need something fresh. They need to change something up. It can't be the same thing as it's been. Because then what's the point, right? You might as well keep AOB on and save themselves the money of having to pay him out, right? So, look, I don't know whether he's re-signed. I heard he was going to stay in the Supercoach, and I know that he didn't want to potentially. But, I mean, surely, in my opinion, Brad Arthur's the right call. That's just for me. He's the right call. He has experience building a team up from a low position. He's done that. I actually think despite him having a bad few end of the years, he's a really good coach. He kept the Eels in the top 8 and in the near top 4 for years, lots and lots of years in a row. Yes, they weren't winning finals, but that's just experience for him. I think personally, if they can get him, I'd be signing Brad Arthur every day of the week. Did he re-sign with Leeds? I didn't know if I'd seen that or not. I thought he was going to.
He has, but I believe there is a clause in there about if he does get an NRL job, he is allowed to leave. I have heard some whispers around that he does miss Australia terribly and he would jump at a chance to come back. Just remember, he was very hard going for that Bears job, and it was apparently basically had the job until Mal Meninga put his hand up. I like the Brad Arthur call. I think he would be a good man for about 3, maybe 4 years to really shake the joint up and build it up and then move on to someone who can then take that squad to that elite level and get them potentially in the fight for a premiership. I think would be the best way to go. I also want to say I actually think Justin Holbrook would be a good signing for him as well. I really think he's got a bit more to give in the NRL as a coach. I do think he was building quite nicely at the Titans, and we've now seen that decision to sack him and throw Des in was just horrible. That was one of the worst moves a club has done. It just completely drove him into the ground, where Holbrook was starting to produce some sort of moments with that squad. So I wouldn't mind seeing him either. So I'm going to say I think it's out of Brad Arthur or Justin Holbrook would be my choices. Trav, what do you think of him?
Yeah, I like the Holbrook choice. I don't think he did too bad in his last job. I think he was just a victim of his situation. So I don't mind that. I don't mind the Brad Arthur choice either. Because there's no big names out there. There's no big names out there, is there? There's no, and Hannay was the one that they needed, right? That was the one, and they're 2 days too short. And I actually think the Knights needed to be on the front foot as soon as the Cowboys said that they're going to re-sign Peyton, which is a funny thing in itself. I I think the Knights really needed to wake up and go, hang on, we may miss out on Hane here. We need to do this now. And they didn't. They stuffed up big time.
I agree.
Yeah, that doesn't answer your question. There's those two are probably the front runners. What about a Sammy Burgess?
I think they need an experienced coach. That's what I think. I don't think they can go for. I know Sam Burgess has obviously got coach experience at the moment, Super League, things like that, but he hasn't got experience making those big calls that need to be made. I think at the Knights, we talk about the Titans being a bit of a job. The Knights are a bit of a job at the moment as well because their cap going into next year is completely out of whack, and their forward pack just is not there at all. Like they've got a really impressive backline, including their 6 and 7. They've got a potential to be one of the better attacking sides next year if they can get the right coach in place. But damn, their forward pack needs work, and they need to make a very big call on Kalen Ponga, I reckon, which will divide that fan base for a few months up there. I think there's going to be some fireworks there.
I think Burgess has got the personality that I think he could really work with that community. I think he's got the personality and the experience that he could really work with that junior pathways. Riles didn't have the experience to make big calls. He's made some big calls, and you've pretty much loved every one of those. Hane doesn't have experience, and we're calling him to have to make some big calls at Titans, probably even more so than what the Knights are going to have to do. And we're saying that that's a great signing for the Titans. I'm not sure that can be a deterrent to not picking Sammy Burgess. I don't mind that pick either. I think that's a bit of a under the radar type pick, but yeah.
It's a pipe dream, but
Andrew Johns has said he's had no interest.
Not Andrew Johns, but the other brother, Matthew. I tell you what, his footy brain is ridiculous. I know his lifestyle and that doesn't quite suit coaching, but I think there'd be plenty of Knights fans up there, almost 99% of them, that would just melt if Matty Johns ever said, you know what, let me in there, let me fix the place up for a couple of years, and then I'll hand off to one of these more rookie coaches, get someone like Burgess along with him, say, come on, let's do it for a couple of years, then you can take over, similar to what happened with Benji at the Tigers. But there is definitely a few options around. I just think I'm very much on Trav's bandwagon here when he says, I feel like when it comes to Blake Green, that's not going to work. That's shown so far this year that does not work. But yes, Diggsy, I do agree. That's why I didn't commit to that. Jake, anything to say on that one?
Yeah, I think that the Knights are dumb. I think the Knights are dumb enough that they're going to pick Green. I'm not saying he's the right choice at all. I just said that before, but I have a just feeling Green will be there and the same thing's just going to happen. I don't think they're going to make a change.
Yeah. Josh just said, Hannah and Riles had a lot of NRL assistant experience and reserve grade head coaching. Burgess has had 1 year in the Super League. Any rebuttal, Trav?
No, not really. I get it. I understand. And as I said, it's an under the radar left field sort of option. But, Sammy Burgess didn't just leave playing and then go straight into his 1 year. Like, it's been a while since he's not been playing. I think he'll be fine. Matty Johns hasn't had any coaching. We're all loving that. But yes, Matty Johns has been in the commentary and done all those sorts of things for a long time. That doesn't make him be a good coach or that he's got an idea, right? So, we're calling for these left field options, and I think that's kind of what's going to be a good option for the Knights. I think something a little bit left field, that I think will work.
They're all better than Blake Green. Sorry, Blake Green. Nothing against you. Just your record.
No, I actually think he's a good dude, but his record does. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Let's get into tips. First game, I think a lot of people now have just gone, yeah, I'll skip this game. Bulldogs against Penrith. I'm not even going to ask the question, guys, because I think we'll all just say the Bulldogs. Just nod along, please, because it's very clear we'll be going for the Dogs. Trav hasn't said anything. Are you going different, mate?
No.
Oh.
Did you not just listen to what I said before?
Yes, I did.
I want to say I have this weird feeling, and I know this is going to be laughed at. I have this weird feeling Panthers are going to pull one out. This reserve grade Panthers side are going to pull one out. Just
if
they'll make it
do
competitive.
the amount of talk and noise and everything that'll come out against the Dogs will be
Huge.
ridiculous. It'll be a tsunami, and it could, I don't know, Dogs fans will just, I don't know, they'll be, who knows. Warriors against the Eels over in New Zealand, Friday, 6 p.m. Trav?
Was.
Jake?
Yeah, I've gone Wise 2, unfortunately.
Are you serious? You've been going the Eels the last, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And I didn't go up against the Roosters and we won, so I'm going against them again so that we win again.
Good, the juju factor.
Mate, I'm out of all my tipping comps anyway, so I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all.
I don't think the Warriors have been that great still. I think they've versed a very poor Titans side on the weekend, but did enough. They did have some good moments. I think they'll want to be trying to make something happen now, 2 weeks out from finals. So I've got the Warriors in a close one. Storm against the Roosters, both without a few of their key players, obviously, in this one. Storm still favourite. Jake?
Storm.
Yeah, I've got the Storm. Trav?
Yeah, good chat, mate.
Mute. Yeah, cool.
I've got the Roosters.
Wow, okay. Are you trying to do the juju thing as well?
Nah.
It's because they're resting. It's because they're resting 5 players, but I think Sam Walker is literally that 1 to their 5. That's the difference. Yeah. Sam Walker being out's too big.
I do agree with that. Raiders against the Tigers. I'm going with the Raiders in Canberra, and I think they might be up for a big win here. Trav?
Yeah, the Raiders are no-brainer.
Raiders
the Balloons, the Balloons been burst at the Tigers. Dragons against Manly, Trav. This one is very, very tight according to the bookies.
Yeah, it's exactly the same odds on the NRL website. I've got Manly.
Jake?
Manly as well.
There is something leading me massively towards the Dragons in this one. I've already set my tips over. I forgot what day it was. I thought it was Thursday today. But that's my type of week. Just to let everyone know. I've gone Manly, but I honestly think last week was an anomaly with all everything that happened. I think Manly haven't been good for a while now, and I think the Dragons could easily come out after being embarrassed, after having a pretty respectable year, to be fair. They want to put some respect back onto things before the end of the season. So I really want to tip the Dragons, but who knows? Cowboys against the Broncos, Trevor, a Queensland derby, the first of 2 this weekend.
The first of 2. This will be a good game. I actually legitimately think this is going to be a cracker. I got the Broncos just.
Jake?
Bronx.
Yeah, I've got the Broncos as well. This one will be a score of about 40 points to 30 as well. I think we all know what's coming there. Sunday, we've got the Sharkies against the Knights. Jake?
Sharkies.
Trav? Sorry.
Sharks.
Yeah, I got the Sharkies. Just a side note, please don't tell me that if they get a home final, they're playing at Shark Park. Please. That place is just looking worse. I know they're doing some things to it, but that's not a place you should be playing finals football at. But anyway, I don't want to stir the hornet's nest up there too much. And the second and like I said, we will be at the Caxton Street Brewing Company before this game kicks off, and we'll be at the game. So make sure you come along if you're up and at that game to come say hello. Dolphins against the Titans. The Dolphins now have a sneaky little chance to make the top 8, so they've got plenty to play for. Jake, what do you got?
Fins up.
I've got the Fins as well. I've got the Fins to put on a bit of a score. Trav?
Yeah, I've got the Fins to win comfortably. And to be fair, it's a funny thing to say after what I've seen them, the way they've been playing. But yeah, I've got the Fins comfortably.
Just a quick one before we go. The Roosters loss obviously is throwing a spinner in the works for the top 8. But do you think the Roosters still make it, or do you think the Dolphins will be doing something, or maybe Manly on the outside chance?
No,
Dolphins. I think Roosters win this week, which means that'll lock their finals in. So
either they win this week or next week, they win. they'll be right.
Do enough. Yeah. The Dolphins fade outs have really started to be a worry. But yeah, I'd really like to see him. I'm very interested to see this Victor Radley stuff, and obviously the club being brought into this mess will impact that squad at all. And if it does, in what sort of aspect, whether it's they all get together and go, let's go for it, or there's a bit of friction now with everything that Nick Politis has come out and said. Some players might be going, oh crap, is my time up at the club, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think the Roosters probably just will get it done. But that's it. Thank you very much, everyone. Shout out to Isaac again for coming on, spending so much time with us. We really appreciate that. Thank you, Jake. Thank you to Trav, the birthday boy. Go and finish your birthday cake. Go and do whatever else you want to do on your birthday. I guess you haven't got long to go. You'll probably be asleep soon. So thank you, everyone in the comments. Comments were fantastic. Thank you to Instagram as well, going off. Really do appreciate it. Just make sure you're with us next week. It will be our last Wednesday night live show for the year. We will be switching a few things up come finals time. We'll let everyone know. But next Wednesday will be the last show for us. If you want any of the hoodies, any of the merch you can see on screen at the moment, the shirts, the hats, the hoodies, message the page. We can organize it for you. But until either Sunday if we see you or whenever, goodbye. Thank you for tuning in.